The story unfolds with a massive island explosion, introducing Jingi and Yukito, two courageous youngsters. Yukito, who has also lost his childhood memories, receives a letter promising a peaceful high school life on Ayaka Islands, sparking questions about his past and guardian Ino. His amnesia is further complicated by his uncontrollable powers. Alongside Jingi, Yukito embarks on a quest to unravel his destiny. They encounter intriguing characters like Aka, who has a unique approach to dealing with Mitama, and the spirited students Chataro and Yako. As Yukito's power grows, he forms bonds of friendship and faces Ara Mitama, mysterious entities born of ley energy. Through a blend of action, magic, and self-discovery, the story unfolds in the mesmerizing world of adventure and camaraderie. The anime begins with a heart-pounding explosion, a fiery maelstrom consuming the island. Amidst the raging inferno, two fearless souls emerge. Jingi, with his vibrant green hair, races through the chaos to safeguard Yukito's life as they urgently navigate toward a lifeline, the ferry. In the midst of pandemonium, an elderly person emerges, his soothing presence quelling the collective panic. As he confirms the imminent arrival of more ferries, a flicker of hope kindles within him as he spots Jingi, and he anxiously inquires about the whereabouts of Momoko. She, a beacon of leadership, is commanding the evacuation, and her instructions are crystal clear, prioritizing the ferry. Amidst this turmoil, Jingi can't help but worry about Haruaki and Aka. Yet, the reassuring words of the old person affirm that Master Yanagi is on a daring mission to retrieve them from the abyss of danger. Speaking of Master Yanagi, he exudes a sense of coolness, and he leisurely smokes his pipe. He's a hero who saved everyone during this disaster. He is a heroic lay master dedicated to preserving harmony on the Ayaka Islands. With a hint of resignation, he declares, "Ha, you have got no patience. Guess it's time for one last gig." A colossal fire dragon emerges from the lava, setting the stage for a final showdown. Meanwhile, Haruaki is seen carrying Aka to safety. Both of them look badly injured. The narrative then shifts in time with Yukito nearing the end of middle school. He receives a letter from Ino Sanji, a friend of his late father, promising to pick him up after graduation and provide a peaceful high school life on the Ayaka Islands. However, the twist lies in Yukito's amnesia about his own childhood, leaving him questioning why he was placed in foster care when Ino was supposedly his guardian. Yukito often has a recurring dream of being in the water, which brings him solace. He prefers solitude due to his uncontrollable powers, believing that distancing himself from others is a form of protection. During his school's graduation ceremony, Yukito, without any close friends, reflects on his self-imposed isolation and the guilt he carries for his loneliness. Meanwhile, a young lad named Jingi, who is coincidentally the same Jingi from earlier, is seen indulging in some beers. Yukito's attempt to deny his identity is met with a forceful push into the water by Jingi, triggering an unexpected display of Yukito's uncontrolled powers. Jingi swiftly intervenes, containing Yukito's powers, and carries him away in a bag. Yukito awakens on a mysterious boat, utterly bewildered, and demands an explanation. Jingi claims to be Yukito's older brother and the one tasked with training him. Despite Yukito's memory loss, they share a brotherly bond. As they approach the second Ayaka Island, Yukito is captivated by a train that travels on the sea, known as the marine liner. "Isn't it Ayakastic?" the old man from the boat inquires. The term Ayakastic puzzles him, highlighting his lack of familiarity with island terminology. Upon arriving at the island, Yukito is greeted by Momoko and the mayor, who turns out to be the author of the letter he received. Ino, the letter's supposed sender, is the mayor. A photograph of Yukito and his father sparks curiosity about his biological heritage. It's revealed that Yukito was placed in foster care according to his father's will. During a conversation with Jingi, who seemed more engrossed in his video game, Yukito learns about Mitama and their malevolent counterpart, Ara Mitama, which requires purification. Frustrated by Jingi's apparent lack of interest, Yukito storms out of the house to cool down. A Mitama falls, giving rise to an Ara Mitama, prompting Jingi and Yukito to confront it. Jingi identifies himself as Yukito's father's third student, engages in combat with the creature. However, acknowledging Yukito's potent power, he throws Yukito into the Ara Mitama's body, causing Yukito to unleash his fury. Jingi intervenes with a spell, bringing Yukito's destructive outburst under control. Jingi commits to training Yukito, asking him to address him as master, and they return home safely. An episode begins with Jingi nursing a hangover while Yukito is diligently meditating, attempting to grasp the concept of ley energy. Jingi explains that ley energy is a powerful force originating from deep within the earth, but Yukito's mastery over it is unrefined and unstable. Their practice involves manipulating water and magic, but Jingi playfully bursts Yukito's water bubble with a sneeze, adding some teasing banter. Jingi demonstrates his skills by creating a water dummy that moves autonomously, impressing Yukito. However, Yukito is not in the mood for Jingi's usual showmanship today. Jingi then shares his terrible news. He's run out of beer, eliciting no surprise given his penchant for drinking. He reveals that he owes a considerable debt at the bar, rendering him reluctant to face the bartender. He takes Yukito along to look for a job request to pacify Mitama. Things get interesting when they stumble on two pupils of Haruaki Kurama. They're bickering over a job to pacify a Mitama. But wait, before they can finish, Jingi swoops in and snatches the job right from under them. His reason? To train the son of their teacher's teacher. Talk about a tangled web. It seems as if Jingi was quite a bad impression and reputation everywhere. Just what has he been doing besides drinking all those years that got everybody so pissed off? Yukito is intrigued by the two students and inquires about them, learning their names as Chataro and Yako. Jingi humorously suggests that Yukito should befriend them, given their similar ages. Yukito contemplates the idea of making friends, despite his fear of inadvertently harming them, with his unpredictable powers. This mission leads them to face an Aramitama, a manifestation of Jingi's own mischief, while drunk. The Aramitama takes control and Jingi leaves Yukito behind in his haste to escape. Yukito chases after him, calling his name. Meanwhile, Shataro and Yako promptly inform their sensei, Haruaki Kurama, about Jingi's actions and how he usurped their job. Yukito realizes that the Aramitama was a result of Jingi's carelessness, and he calls out for help as chaos ensues. Haruaki Kurama, the legendary first disciple of Yukito's father, appears and effortlessly pacifies the Aramitama with a magnificent grassy tornado spell. Although Haruaki is thrilled to see Yukito again, Yukito's amnesia leaves him unable to recall their prior connection. Jingi, responsible for the commotion, is tasked with cleaning up the mess, and Shataro and Yako take the opportunity to mock him, highlighting their long-standing grudge. Yukito is on a marine liner, and he's over the moon about it. But Jingi, ever the buzzkill, reminds him that he used to make the same excited face when he was a kid. Too bad Yukito can't remember any of those childhood memories. Jingi casually mentions that Yukito will get tired of these trips soon, but Yukito is just too thrilled at the moment. They are approaching the first island, and Yukito wonders what it's like. Jingi fills him in. There are tons of cool things there, like parlors and casinos. Yeah, it's Jingi's idea for a good time, but then again, who's surprised? It's Jingi we're talking about. An old man strikes up a conversation with Yukito. He reassures Yukito that he'll adjust to life on the island just fine. Jingi, never one to miss an opportunity to be sarcastic, chimes in, saying he's looking after Yukito day and night. Of course, that's the main concern. The old man asks Jingi to show Yukito around, and initially, Jingi's reluctant because he's got some business on the first island. But he caves in and agrees, probably to save face. The two start their tour, and suddenly Jingi vanishes into thin air. Yukito is left to fend for himself, and guess what? He gets himself into trouble. Seriously, is Jingi ever reliable? A street performer's big ball suddenly turns into an Aramitama. Guess what? Aka Ibuki, the second disciple of Yukito's dad, saves the day. Now here's the twist. Aka doesn't believe in pacifying Mitama like Yukito's dad and Jingi do. He believes in eradicating them, and used a gun that shoots special magical bullets. He remembers Yukito from way back when, but doesn't seem bothered that Yukito doesn't remember him. Aka, surprised by Yukito's growth, reminisces about the past and mentions that Yukito doesn't resemble his father. Curious about Aka's use of a gun as a lay master, Yukito learns that the bullets contain spells, a unique approach to dealing with Mitama. Aka takes Yukito to his shop, where Jingi is already indulging himself. Yukito reprimands Jingi for abandoning him earlier and demands an apology. While discussing Aramitama, Aka expresses his belief that Mitama poses a threat to humans, justifying his practice of eradicating them without hesitation. During this heated discussion, an Aramitama appears. Surprise! Turns out the earlier one was just a part of the real deal. They rush to face it, but Jingi throws in a word of caution: don't bring up Haruaki, Yukito's dad's first disciple, around Aka, hinting at their strained relationship. Oh, the drama! The Aramitama appears and Aka takes the lead. He showcases some dark powers and even transforms himself using black magic that defies lay mastery laws. With his corrupted powers, he crushes the Mitama into dust and mutters something cryptic about being stronger than Haruaki and even the dragon. Yukito is left to wonder about Aka's true intentions. This time, their journey takes them to the third island, which appears even less developed than the second. Jingi, true to his character, seizes the opportunity for a nap, while Yukito remains curious and engaged. Yukito asks if Jingi is tired, to which Jingi responds, hilariously reveals that drinking excessively for 2 consecutive nights is his definition of tough work. Jingi doesn't frequent this island often, reserving his visits for specific purposes. He reveals that only Haruaki and his idiot students make regular use of the island. Speaking to those students, Chataro and Yako are already there to welcome Yukito to the third island. They ask if he's settled in yet. Yukito is still wide-eyed with wonder and seems thrilled all the time. Next, they visit the Kasen shrine dedicated to pacifying dragons. The duo explains that there are 2 dragons on the 4th island, and every time one of them goes on a rampage, disaster follows. They recount a childhood memory when a dragon's eruption caused chaos even on the 1st island. It was the fire dragon, and a crater lake is said to have formed after the water dragon pacified it. Yukito tries to jog his memory, but Jingi, in classic fashion, interrupts with a snooze. Chataro and Yako sympathize with Yukito's predicament of having Jingi and his teacher and express their apparent displeasure with him. It's clear they're not the biggest fans of him, especially after his constant negligence. Jingi, true to form, fails to remember their names accurately and even manages to unintentionally dunk all 3 of them into muddy water. Haruaki Kurama arrives on the scene and extends a warm welcome to Yukito. He takes Yukito to his place, offers him candy, and suggests he try the popular orange flavor. Yukito gets to the point and brings up Aka. Haruaki is visibly surprised by the mention of Aka's name. Yukito expresses his concern about Aka's methods. Haruaki takes the opportunity to give Yukito a ley energy lesson. Ley masters use this energy to weave powerful spells, and the islands are filled with it. However, on the mainland, it's less common, found mainly in shrines and historical sites. Haruaki explains that Aka consumes Aramitama to gain strength, which is just like becoming Aramitama himself. This practice goes against ley mastery principles. Later, Chataro and Yako take Yukito to their training ground. They demonstrate their ley energy skills by growing a plant from a seedling, but they end up bickering about who did it better. Yukito then takes his turn, astonishing everyone by drawing an immense amount of power, causing the tree to grow uncontrollably. Jingi intervenes to help Yukito regain control over his powers. The budding friendship between Yukito, Chataro, and Yako begins to take shape, and it seems they are on the path to becoming close friends. Yanagi Yukito lived much of his life keeping a distance from everyone, fearing getting too close. That all changes for the young orphan when he meets the eccentric and possibly foolish Sagawa Jingi, who takes him to the island of his forgotten childhood. Here he learns about his past, his family, and the new power of the ley lines as he trains to control the power that has been a source of fear for him. Will Yukito learn to control this power? What secrets are waiting for him on the island? Keep watching to find out. Yukito is practicing a new technique with the help of Jinchi, who comments that the young man's problem is not the output of energy, but its control. As the lesson goes on, Yukito feels the tremors in the earth, seeming to awaken something in him, but just as quickly as it happened, it disappeared. The following day, Yukito discusses with Momoko the continuing tremors, but the conversation is interrupted by Jinji, showing and asking for drinking money to greet Yanagi. Baffled by the entire interaction and unwilling to trust Jinji with money, he goes to see what the whole matter is about. The two arrive at the grave of Jinji's master, Yukito's father. As Jinji offers the drink to himself and his old master, more people show up to pay respects. There it is finally explained to Yukito that his father perished trying to contain one of the 2 great dragons, who was rampaging and destroying the island after the disappearance of its counterpart, the water dragon. Seeing the love and fondness so many people had for his father, Yukito feels closer to him than before and honors him along with everyone else. As the celebration goes on, Yukito looks back to see Ibara Ichijo, the girl who was following Aka Ibuki, clearly upset. Jinji goes on to explain that today was also the anniversary of her parents' death. Yukito also notices a set of keys near the grave and deduces it must belong to Ibara and makes Jinji take him to where she is. Later, as they walk around the first island, they too are greeted by the disciples of Haruaki, Chataro, and Yako, who have traveled to check on the towns after the earthquake. Upon realizing that they are meeting Aka, the disciples find excuses to quickly leave, not wanting to get involved in the drama and rivalry between their master and Aka. The two head to Aka's bar, where they are greeted by his right-hand man, Makita Taihei, and he explains that Ibara lost her parents to the Aramitama a few years ago and was saved by Aka. It was this type of loss that led many to follow Aka on the path of exterminating Mitama. Taihei calls Ibara over and Yukito hands her the keys, apologizing for any distress their rowdiness might have caused. This tender moment does not last long as Jinji detects an Aramitama of impressive fire energy nearby. Upon hearing this, Ibara rushes off alone to face this threat. Yukito and Jinji follow suit. with Jingi stopping by to rescue civilians and ordering Yukito to go ahead. Ibara finds the Mitama first and readies herself for battle. She activates a lightning mantra but has difficulty closing on the creature. As she takes a hit, she hears her father's voice from back in the burning house, telling her to run, but that strengthens her resolve to never run away again. This promise gave the will to strike back, landing a blow against the creature. However, the creature still proves too strong for her, and just as she's about to be burned away, a shield of water rises before her, blocking the blast, and Ibara sees Yukito, who asks if she is alright. Ibara thinks back to the day of her parents' death, the fur Ari Mitama closing in and Aka arriving to stand in between them, noting how Yukito seems to resemble Aka at this very moment. That moment does not last as the Mitama continues to barrage the shield. Yukito loses his composure with each blast. He attempts to fight back but finds his attack has no effect. They are joined by Shitaru and Yako, who strongly recommend leaving the fight. Not wanting to run away again, Ibara readies a mantra, flips over the shield, and lands a blow on the monster. Yukito tries to contain the creature, but it has no real effect. With Ibara's resolution and Yukito's encouragement, the two disciples ready themselves to fight the creature as well. The disciple combines wind and fire to blast at the fire Ari Mitama, and it works. Somehow. Yukito joins in the barrage with Ibara to continue the assault, but the monster is still kicking. Thus the four boys combine their powers to keep the creature in place, as Ibara takes one final strike at the Mitama and finally manages to destroy it. The disciples celebrate the victory, while Yukito rushes to Ibara to compliment her strength, resulting in just a hint of a blush on the quiet girl's face. The celebration comes to a premature end as they see flaming rocks from the sky land around them, revealing more Ari Mitama, of the same level as the one they just defeated. As all hope seems lost, a mantra can be heard in the distance, and Mystic Winds shreds the Mitama to nothingness and removes the fire surrounding them. Their savior is none other than Haruaki, who arrives in the nick of time to save them. As the other Mitama prepares to counterattack, it gets hot in the head, obliterating it as Aka walks to the scene. Yukito marvels at the power displayed between these two masters, but also worries over the clear tension between them. Aka and Haruaki begin to fight over age-old topics as Haruaki interferes with Aka's absorption of the Mitama. The final fire, Ari Mitama falls with ease to the combined power, but danger is still in the air, as the will and ideologies of the two lay masters come to a clash. Luckily, interference from a green-haired drunk leads to cooler heads prevailing, as he reprimands the two for acting this way. With dusk on its way, the four teenagers hang out in the train station with Jingi for company. They parted ways with contact shared, and a bond, one made in the fires of battle, forms today. The day begins with a look into the past as a younger Momoko is in the kitchen with an even younger Yukito. The door to the house opens to reveal a younger Haruaki, supporting an equally younger Aka, along with an older man fondly called Master, Makoto. Later, Aka finds himself being bandaged by Momoko and reprimanded by Haruaki for his reckless behavior. Just before a fight could break out, the two calm in the presence of Yukito, and the house is filled with laughter. Later, the two disciples practice their mantras to Jinji's derision, claiming he has no need for it, only to be kicked by the master. The mood changes to a somber one as Aka asks why the two could not preside over the dragon pacifying ritual. Their master explains that while skilled, the two do not yet have the capability of controlling a being as powerful and wrathful as the fire dragon, whose absence of his brother, the water dragon, drives him to further rage. The days and weeks pass by in bliss as the entire family takes part in beautiful island life. That all seemed to change one night as the earth quaked and thunder rolled, signifying an upcoming disaster. To prepare, the master heads off to collect an object for the ritual, leaving the rest to stay and wait for him. However, waiting does not seem a possibility as stakes begin to worsen and seals weaken with the rage of the fire dragon. Jingi tries to join them but is told to stay back and keep Yukito safe, and the two disciples head off. The two find themselves in awe at the effect of the fire dragon, as the fourth island is a smoldering mass of earth. Aka and Haruaki begin the ritual, attempting to suppress the spirit, and though it appears to be working, the ritual is not enough, and the fire dragon has finally awakened as an Ari Mitama. Scared but undeterred, the two continue with the ritual, confident in the barrier strengthened over the generations. The process is working as the dragon recoils, but suddenly Aka finds himself weakened and insists that the ritual continues. confident that Haruaki can contain it. However, the barrier breaks and the fire dragon blasts in the direction of Aka, realizing what his priorities truly are. Haruaki halts the ritual to save Aka, though neither survives unscathed. As death becomes a certainty, Makoto arrives at the field, kicking the dragon away, and begins the ritual once more, admitting that at least the other islands will be spared the damage. He orders them to leave, and with a smirk on his lips and a pipe in his hand, heads off to his final battle. Tomoko goes on to the epilogue of this tale, noting that most survived the tragedy, but the islands were damaged as a result. She further recounts that after the master's funeral, Aka went his path, and the two friends turned to bitter rivals over ideals. She ends the tale by mentioning that there was another through the disaster who took great care over Yanagi, and it is revealed to be Jingi. The night ends with memories of good times and how it all ended. Yukito finds himself in a dream he's had many times before. He's lying down deep in the ocean, but what makes it different are bubbles appearing below, as within a deep chasm on the ocean floor. The figure of the fire dragon rises to look at Yukito, and as it does, he suddenly finds himself choking in the water, blue energy radiating off him. Before he can drown, he wakes up to find Jingi, who is shocked to see ocean blue eyes with slitted pupils staring back at him. Before anything further can be said, Yukito receives a message from his friends asking about the festival. Learning that there is one at Kasen Shrine, he eagerly lets them know he's coming. Jingi, learning of this, goes to give a mask for the festival, one that happens to belong to his father, and the two prepare for the festival. Yukito marvels at the sight of the festival and the sight of Jingi actually having friends, but he is even more dazzled by the sight of Ibara, who hides her face and messages Yukito appreciation for his compliment. As the three walk around, they see Haruaki being reprimanded by his two disciples over too many freebies. The trio help them with their merchandise, and as they do, Haruaki explains that they wear masks to honor the time that beings like gods and monsters used to attend the festivals with them. The four teenagers head off with Jingi restrained by Haruaki. As they do, Yuakata suffers a headache that disappears as suddenly as it came. The rest of the time is spent enjoying the food and entertainment provided by the festival as they move away from the festival. Yukito's headache returns, his power blasting out. Fearing his mistakes from happening again, he runs away. The power roils in him, and even his shadow changes, threatening to burst. Then the memory of all the people he met in his time here and the memory of his master Jingi brings a certainty to him that gives him the will to control his power. As he finally relaxes, a rugged man appears with a mask much like Yukito's own, telling that he may finally be ready to face the truth within him, and disappears. Confused by everything that happens, he returns to the festival to see a drunk Jingi and a plethora of messages of concern from his new friends. Feeling that he is finally in control and happy with a lot in his life, he returns to the festival, acknowledging to Jingi that his teachings are why he can have this. Jingi doesn't have time to consider this as a blaze of fire erupts from one of the islands, and Jingi grimly notes that it is finally time. The episode begins with the fourth island on fire and the ground shaking a lot. The mayor quickly announces and tells everyone on the island to head to the middle of the plaza. We then see Yukito and Jingi talking to each other in the next frame. Jingi asks Yukito how he feels about this island, to which Yukito replies that he likes the island. There's a broadcast telling about the fourth island aftershock, and residents are to evacuate and follow the instructions. There are still earthquakes going around due to the fourth island, and we also see Yukito having some kind of awakening, or the start of an awakening. Momoko asks Yukito to get on a boat with the group from One Chrome, but he declines, deciding to stay with Momoko. A report from the second island has arrived, and it seems like everyone is safe, and they have started the evacuation process. Another big earthquake happens and the people are evacuated. Yukito and Momoko are also present there. Despite the earthquake, they all proceed to evacuate. Now only the first island remains. Now we see the mayor being questioned about what will they do if any Ara Mitama appears, to which the mayor replies that the Ayaka security will be their last hope. Haruaki visits Momoko and Yukito and asks Momoko if he can take Yukito for a little. We then see Haruaki telling Yukito something significant about his birth. He says that the fourth island disaster is being caused by the fire dragon. Its power is running out of control because of its rival's disappearance, the water dragon. He says that 15 years ago, the water dragon's power diminished significantly, and it was his master and Yukito's father, Yanagi, who handled the situation. He slayed the weak water dragon and gave it a new form, a human form. And that's Yukito. This means Yukito is the water dragon. I mean, most people saw this coming, not gonna lie. He then tells Yukito to evacuate with Momoko while Haruaki goes to 4th Island. At the end of the episode, we see Haruaki at the 4th Island, who is approached by Aka. Haruaki asks Aka to stay back, and they start talking about how their master died at the same place. Oh, and their master was Yanagi, if you hadn't guessed yet. The fire dragon suddenly appears. Aka goes in to attack the fire dragon, but isn't able to deal any damage. At the same time, Haruaki also attacks the fire dragon with a powerful move, and like Aka, isn't able to deal any damage. Both of them charge up to launch a superpower attack at the fire dragon at the same time, but they fail, and Aka gets slammed to the ground. The fire dragon turns into an Aramitama. The dragon launches an attack on Aka and Haruaki, but Yukito saves them just in time. The battle between the fire dragon and Yukito and the others continues. Haruaki asks them to retreat and fall back, but they decline. They decide to cooperate to take down the fire dragon. Aka asks Ibara to take control of the kids, and asks them to stay behind and support them. Chatao and Yako are worried about their master, Haruaki. Haruaki asks the kids to watch their backs as he heads toward the fire dragon. Ibara asks Chataro and Yako to block as many attacks as they can, and asks Yukito to contain the target with her. Aka heads in for the attack with the support of Haruaki and the kids and can deal some good damage. Ibara and Yukito also launched an attack on the fire dragon and were able to deal some good damage as well. They might have a chance to defeat the fire dragon after all. All of them attack the dragon and Yukito's power becomes stronger and stronger with each attack. Haruaki binds the dragon into a place while it is taking a toll on him. Haruaki starts to drag down the fire dragon to seal him, but fails, and the dragon breaks free from the chains. Aka transforms and heads in to attack the dragon with the backing of Haruaki and can deal some damage, but the dragon remains standing. Haruaki was about to send the kids back when Jingi appeared. Jingi was one of the few who knew the truth about Yukito. We see people who are evacuating scared. We are then told the stories about the dragon, about how the water dragon became weak, and the fire dragon went on a rampage till a lone hermit arrived, and at the cost of his power he restored the water dragon's power, which made the island fertile, and stopped the fire dragon's rampage. But as the years passed, the two dragons had fallen out of harmony again, and how Yanagi raised the water dragon and got its power back at the cost of his life. Jingi's master grave had the spell embedded on his gravestone to restore the powers of the water dragon. Back at the fire dragon, Jingo asks Yukito if he wants the power of the water dragon back, to which Yukito replies that he wants the power back to protect everyone. Jingi says the spell to bring back the powers of the water dragon and was able to bring back the powers, but at the cost of his life. Huge waves of water start to emerge from Yukito, and then the water dragon appears, and the episode concludes there. It was quite an insane episode, not gonna lie. The episode begins with Yukito and Lingi enjoying a good time eating fish. Then we are back at the fight between the water dragon and the fire dragon. The water dragon captures the fire dragon's tail and takes him up to the skies, where they have a fierce battle. Haruaki and the others put up a barrier to protect themselves. The kids are cheering Yukito while Ibara thoughts of the possibility that what if Yukito loses? Aka asks if Yukito will be able to return to a human, but Haruaki tells him that they have no way of knowing, as they don't know what spell was cast on Yukito. The corruption that was clinging to the fire dragon disappears, and the Mitama starts to appear out of the surroundings. The fire dragon and the water dragon merge, and the fight stops. We then see Yukito standing with Jingi, asking him to stand up and go home with him, but Haruaki comes in and tells him that Jingi is dead. We then see Ibara and Aka, where Aka asks if the others are alright, to which the person available there replies, with that, they are alright. We see Yukito on the stairs crying, and Momoko appears asking him what happened, to which Yukito replies that Jingi has sadly passed away. It's been a while since Jingi's death, but Yukito is still super sad. I mean, it was his brother, so obviously he would be sad. We then see everyone gathered at Jingi's funeral, crying and talking about how Jingi was such a good friend and how Jingi hadn't changed since he was a kid. We also see the mayor being super sad. On the other hand, Aka and Haruaki are talking about how the Lingi find out that Yukito was the water dragon, to which Haruaki replies that they had found notes inside Lingi's room that contains the spell of the lame master who gave his life to revive the water dragon. They both start to tear up thinking about it, and how they are useless in the fight against the fire dragon. Yukito is visited by Momoko, and Yukito is still crying, saying that it was his fault that Jingi died, and that because he was so weak, Jingi had to sacrifice himself. Momoko tells Yukito not to take the blame as it was not his fault, and asks him to at least see Jingi's face again. The mayor then thanks Yukito was protecting the island and its people, and starts to tear up thinking about Jingi, gets up, and leaves for a bit. Yukito suddenly finds himself in front of Jingi, but that only lasts for a little bit. The mayor comes back and Yukito tells him about the possibility of saying Jingi as his soul is still in the ley energy. And that's where the episode concludes. The episode was also quite insane, not gonna lie. Can't wait to see what happens in the next episode and if Yukito will be able to save Jingi or not. Yukito runs off and transforms into the water dragon. Haruaki and the rest notice him and start to wonder as to where he is heading. Yukito then starts to feel and sense the place where Jingi is drifting away. Yukito can see the ley energy and decides to jump in to save Jingi, and that's what he does. He finds himself at the place where he last saw Jingi, drifting away, and is happy that he was able to be there. He wonders if the place he is in is a place where lives flow together, or if a single chain of life itself is the ley energy. Yukito now has to search for Jingi out of millions of lives there. Then a man suddenly appeared before his eyes. It was his dad. Yukito is wondering what he is doing to her, even though he died 10 years ago. Yanagi replies that he was here keeping the fire dragon in check until Yukito awakened as the water dragon. As a soul, he was patiently handling the fire dragon from within the ley energy. Yukito asks Yanagi about Jingi and if he knows where he is, and asks Yanagi to take him to Jingi as he wants to save him. Yanagi then asks Yukito to follow him. Back at the island, we see Haruaki and his subordinates. Aka and Ibara also appear there. They talk about how Yukito has dived in the ley energy to save Jingi. Then suddenly, many Ara Matima appear, and Haruaki and Aka with the rest begin battle with them. Back at Yukito, they were able to find Jingi drifting away in the ley energy, and as they were able to bring him back, Yukito forgot the way back to the island, but Haruaki was able to find them in the ley energy, and were able to lead them to the exit, and they were able to get back safely and were able to save Jingi. At the funeral of Jingi, the mayor and Momoko are shocked to see Jingi alive, and the mayor bursts into tears. The next day, everyone is celebrating Jingi's revival and is super happy. We also see the Ayaka security and the Aka training, as always fighting Ara Matimas. And finally, Yukito, Momoko, and Jingi are together. That concludes the end of the episode in this recap. This anime was a really good one. In my opinion, this anime had quite a unique plot, and the fight between the water dragon and fire dragon was also really good and well animated. The character design in the anime was also quite good. And I hope you have an amazing day.